right, how's everybody doing out there tonight? Another edition of In the Zone. We got a week 2 roundup, or correct? Well, it's the second edition that we've done of the year, but it's a week 4 roundup, basically 1/5 of the way through the season already. And as a guest host tonight, I've got with me the owner of the Macaulay Mustangs, Keith Salter. How you doing tonight, Keith?
That's pretty good. It's nice to have some hockey back, and baseball's done, and football season is in full force. The pretenders and contenders are separating themselves there. So,
Yeah, I
as far as
actually
the
even got
sporting
one
world
of.
goes, that's good.
I got somebody in one of those categories this week too. That works out really good, and we got a pretty good season already of no control zone going on. We got a lot to talk about in this edition here because we got a lot of really good teams in the league this year. And me and Keith were
Mhm.
talking just before we came on the air here about how this could be any one of like 6, 7, 8 people's season to win the cup. Really good.
I agree. Again, as you said, we did discuss it, and along the way through this podcast for you, we'll share some of those thoughts. And because there's some teams that are very surprising, they quietly built themselves, and it's like Jesus Christ, man. If they all stay within it, it just makes you know some big trades to come. Like it's not as fast as quick as it was last year, obviously, but I think that there's still some pretenders and contenders, and once they separate themselves, I mean, there's
Actually,
teams that it's good to see that they're up top finally again, right?
when you get fancy though, it's laid out pretty good. There's really only one person out of order, and we'll talk about that when we get to pretenders and contenders. But
Okay.
why don't I can't think of any better way to jump into this podcast in the Langway division because we got to talk about Bull Hull's Port Elgin Wolfpack 8-0 for 16 points. Obviously going 2-0 again this week. The Wolfpack beat up on the Capitals 5-2, who were in second place going into this. And they also beat up on the East Coast Brewers 6-1. Very impressively, I might add. What do you think of the Wolfpack?
Um, he drafted really well.
He
And
did.
obviously, after like he got Jesper Bratt. I mean, that's a steal. And he's like, I think he got another point again tonight. And it's just like, okay, well, and then along with the guys that he'd carried over and had through the draft and stuff, he's not an elite scorer, but he can score with the best of them on a week to week basis. And his defense is pretty on the overall pretty good, and his goaltending, well, Martin Jones and Ville Husso, like he's just tearing it up in Detroit. He's carried everything from St. Louis to Detroit, and Bo's benefiting from both of them in theory.
I,
And
I
Martin Jones is holding up in Seattle, but he's still Martin Jones, and
yeah.
so on the overall, I think the Bo's in for a good run here, and he made a pretty big trade with me earlier this year to get Evander Kane, and I don't think he's seeing the best of him yet.
Well, Bo
So
definitely
you,
made
you
the
know you know he's just going to be better.
Yeah, Bo made the moves to improve his team, and it's already shown early here, going 8-0. Is he going to take a run at Renee's record of what was it, 42 wins, 3 losses, and a tie? I can't remember what it was, but it was something outrageous like that. But I
Oh,
guess
I don't think I.
if I see one weak spot though with Wolfpack, and you just said what you just talked about for me is still the goaltending. I'm still
Yeah,
not sold on. I'll never be sold on Martin Jones unless he does this for 2 or 3 years with Seattle of all teams.
yeah,
And so if there is a weak spot there's a couple teams that I've seen like this, that if there's a weak spot, it's the goaltending. But those other teams that don't have the weakness in the goaltending will have weaknesses elsewhere that these teams don't. So
yes,
overall,
yeah,
super impressed with the point totals that Bo's been putting out.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're 8-0 obviously makes it a little bit easier because you've started out well. He can analyze his team, and he can go and look and analyze the other teams. Um, I think it's quite obvious who the sellers are right now, and so that makes it easier for the teams that are competing for top dog and stuff. But
not all the sellers.
you
The
know,
mid dogs are all still. There's a whole bunch of them too.
oh yeah, there's
Bill. So
well, you could.
like it's too early to be making a decision if you're one of those guys who thinks he can make a playoff spot. Oh,
Well,
dead air. What
each
happened there?
owner gets the ability to set their lineup the way they choose, right?
Yeah. Well, I just don't see that many people tanking right now, to be honest with you. I just don't.
Well, you got to think that Nick and I think it's Steve with Bitter Batter.
Yeah. And you.
Yeah, that's kind of obvious that they are.
And you. And that's about the three that I see right now.
I wouldn't
And
say me. I mean, look at my lineup this week. I'm playing, I think, the Lakers and the ECB.
we'll get
But,
to your
we'll
team.
get that.
We'll talk about your
Yeah,
team.
we'll get to that later.
So
As far as Bo goes, he's at this stage of the game, he's showing that he's the best, and so he's the one that deserves to be having the accolades. He's got some good players,
yep.
and it's solid. His forward lines are solid from top to bottom. So I mean, yeah.
He put together a nice team.
He wants to be at the top, so
well.
he's made it clear. Yeah.
But
Yep.
you know that he's going to get some competition from his fellow Port Elgin compatriot, and that would be the Salt Dogs coming into second place at 6-1-1 with 13 points, only 3 points behind the Wolfpack. They Salt Dogs, though, they went 2-0 this week, easily beating Pitter Patter 5-1, and they also beat the Scurvy 5-2. So there's Ryan Kelly once again up there challenging for the division crown.
I don't know if Jake Allen and Aiden Hill is going to be strong enough for him to survive this.
Definitely the weak spot on the Sea Dogs, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Definitely the weak spot.
You know, like he kind of grinded me a bit last year, saying my goaltending kind of struggled, and I should have been trading for Quick, this, that, and everything else. And so I kind of analyzed some of the top teams, and I kind of have an idea who the top scoring teams, like obviously Bo and the Salt Dogs, and you and Renee, and possibly Dean's pretty up there pretty good right now. So when I kind of analyze it, I'm looking, oh well, if there's a weakness here, it's certainly in that goaltending, and he needs to improve it. But his defense is solid. You know, he's surviving right now, doing pretty good with the record that he's got. And Roman Yossi hasn't even got started yet. You know, he struggled as far as his points are going this year. And, you know, as far as his forwards are going and stuff, he's got some good forwards too. You know, he's got a little bit of youth mixed in with Draisaitl and Barkov. And, you know, he's got the toughness of Konechny and Jeannot. Clayton Keller adds extra scoring, but I think his plus minus kind of hurts him in a bit. So there's some moves to be made, but
His plus
I don't
minus
want to
hasn't
play
been
him.
that bad though. He's been pretty
Clayton
good
Keller?
so far, wasn't he?
-7,
Oh, okay.
-7
Oh, I didn't know that.
is what I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm going off my memory, just reading this stuff in the last couple of days. But anyways, Ryan's a mover and a shaker.
Yeah, we don't know
so
what his team's going to be. We
Yeah,
have no idea
exactly.
what it's going to end up like.
If he can make his roster better, he's the one guy that's going to do it.
Absolutely.
As far as, you know, him and Dean, I would say would be mover shakers, because they're moving pieces to be able to collect other pieces, trying to thinking that they're going to be better because they're looking at 5 stats. They're not looking at, oh, I need to find somebody that scores goals, right?
Yeah.
You know, so now I don't want to play Ryan. I'll tell you that right now. So
there's a lot of teams I don't want to
him
play in the first round. There's a lot of teams I don't want to play.
But the nice thing is, we've got a long time before we have to worry about that aspect.
Yeah.
But that being said, right now, you know, like, I don't care if you got Draisaitl and you've got McDavid, you've got a chance to win every week regardless.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are capable of coming up with the 5 and 6 point weeks, where most of us other guys that don't have guys like that.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of advantage of having those guys. So that being said, that's where the solid depth, and Ryan's got solid depth in his forward scoring, and he's smart enough to know to pick up guys that pick up penalty minutes.
Yeah.
I think he probably leads the league in penalty minutes.
Yeah,
kind of bully attitude.
he's not the Bruins anymore, but he still has that big bad Bruins mentality, doesn't
Yeah,
he? He's always big on
yeah.
the penalty minutes. Him and Renee are usually always big, huge penalty minute guys. But I'm also noticing Flames of Flurry. Wes Thomas has been gooning it up now for a couple of years here, like big time. He's kicking the shit
Yeah.
out of people with pims. It's like, holy cow, it's crazy. So anyway, in second place last week was the Living Skies Capitals, which means they've dropped down this week into third spot, going 4-3-1 for 9 points, but a rough week, one loss and one tie. The Lakers and Capitals tied 3-3. So that was a good game for Al, but then the Wolfpack stomped down the Caps 5-2. So rough week for Al as he gets passed by the Sea Dogs. Soul
Yeah,
Dogs.
well, and
Soul
I think you
Dogs.
just said you
I
just
had
said
a
it though
good,
too, is
a
that
good hoot
it
right before.
yeah.
Sea
It's
Dogs.
funny that you just said that. He lost to the Wolfpack. So that's there's Bo knocking off Al. And so am I to say that Bo is better than Al because he just beat him? Well, at this point, pretty much yes, because 5-2 would tell me that there's a reason why. Um, Obviously Vasilevsky's just killing Al right now.
Yeah.
And he's got Craig Anderson from Buffalo who kind of splits time with the other guy. So goaltending is suspect, and that's not something that any of us would have thought going into the season with Al's team. So if obviously Vasilevsky can turn it around, Al's team can turn it on even better than what he's been going at
Yeah, that's true.
because he's got a decent offense. Um, Kirby Doc, I mean, I didn't expect this guy to have double-digit points already, you know, and there he is sitting there, and he's picked up Brent Burns, and he's got a decent defense. Radko Gudas, I mean, he just picked up a
Yeah.
couple of fights the other day, and so on the overall, I think Al's going to compete. He has the pieces, but his pieces need to start performing better than what they have.
He had, well,
Bergeron and Kuznetsov,
he also
they're
had
doing what they're supposed to do.
he had tough competition for the week too. Like the
He
Wolfpack
which?
Lakers, he had tough competition for the week too. He wouldn't have dropped out of
Yes,
second,
absolutely.
like he had a hard go with the Lakers and the Wolfpack. That's a tough drop.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've always
So,
talked about this before and stuff, where the premier teams that, like sometimes a score of 5-2 is a lot closer than what 4-3 is.
oh yeah,
Sometimes a 6-1 score can be closer than what a 4-3 win is.
yeah,
Right? Like and that's I think a determining factors because there are 7 categories. That's the reason, some of us are good in the goalies, some of us are good in offense, some of us are really good across the board. Hi, Terry. Um,
hello.
yeah. So it just kind of, like Al's he's a playoff
He's a
team.
playoff team.
There's no question.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too.
I think he's not. He might have to make another move or two to catch up to Bo, but he's certainly behind Bo, and that's my belief. But he's still going to be a pain in the ass for every other team in the league. And
Sure.
any given week, I think Al's got the kind of a team that can beat anybody. So,
Yeah, I
and
don't
over
think
2 weeks,
I don't think the Founder Cup's going to be a walkover for myself this year. I think Al's going to put up a good fight just about every game this year. He's got a good. I definitely think playoff team for Al as well. Like I said, he ran into some tough competition this week, but because of Al running into those people, that gave Dean Molberg the chance for the Shiloh Rangers to move on up as they went 2-0 this week, bringing their record to the same record as the Capitals of 4-3-1 for 9 points. The Rangers beat the Mighty Mustangs 5-2, and they also beat the Flames of Fleury 5-2. What do you think of Dino's team?
he's a pain in the ass.
What's that?
You can think that he's rebuilding, and he's not rebuilding. He's
No.
competing again.
Yeah, he always does it.
He just gets good results from almost everything he touches. It's like, he got rid of some of his really, really good guys, brought in a lot of young guys, but the young guys are producing for him like right away. And
Yeah,
and it's just like,
you
what do
can't.
you do? Like,
You can't not now start thinking that a 19 or a 20-year-old can't produce in this league, because we're being shown otherwise by a lot of young kids nowadays, man. It's like they're starting pretty early putting up the points, especially in this NHL.
Yeah, like, I don't know. He just has an innate. How the fuck does Rupe Hintz? Like, are you kidding me? Really? How do you figure this guy's going to outpoint Bennett again? Well, he is.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he
So
gets
he goes
lost out in
gold on a lot
Dallas,
of
eh?
guys, right?
He gets lost out in
Hey?
Dallas. To me,
Yeah.
Dallas to me is one of the most obscure teams in the NHL. One of the ones that I just pay zero attention to. Like, I rarely watch their games. I just, something about Dallas, I don't know what it is. They're so obscure for me in the NHL, and it's just like that way for everybody. So unless you really follow them closely, like if you didn't follow them closely, you wouldn't know how good Jake Ottinger is. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's a
Exactly.
stud.
Yeah. Probably the number one goalie in the league at this point.
Yeah. So, but
Like,
anyway, Dean's just magic.
if you look at Dean's team, he's Dean's a pain in the ass. He's got good offense. There's no question. Um, his goaltending again is the same as um, Vasilevsky for Al. He's got Thatcher Demko, and Thatcher Demko. I mean, those numbers that he's got are kind of atrocious. Like that's so that's an Achilles heel to Dean. And then his other guy is Merzlikins. Well, you know what? Obviously, we can see what's happening in Columbus too. It's not a lot different than what's happening in Canuckland. So his goaltending's struggling, and I think that's where he's going to take some losses. The one advantage he's got though is he's probably still got a few draft picks left, but you look at his prospect list. He's got some monsters.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
trade.
and he's got the ability to make trades and balance things out and this, that, and everything else, because he's scheming all the time. So he's in there too.
Hear that, Dean?
I think
You're a
he's in there
schemer.
too.
He's a schemer.
Oh
Yeah.
well,
Oh, I never count Dean out, and I know that I doubt this team is his ending team at the end of this season. There's still a trade or two to come from him. It's just that I don't know. Is it me, or does it seem like there's less trades this year at this time? I can't
well,
really.
that's what I said earlier, Terry. When I made that comment earlier, I said I don't think we've seen anything yet, because the scores are so close.
Yeah, I know.
Like, anybody can beat anybody as far as I'm concerned.
And the funny thing about
on a
it is
given
when
week.
those scores are close, it's as you go down the line of the thing, like, how usually somebody totally dominates this one category and that's why the score is close. It's not like that. Even the categories are close.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's good to
Yeah.
see.
So that there we've already got the four teams that I think, very well could be competing for the playoff spots in this division. And there's not a lot of difference between them.
I think
They've
you could
each
be
got
right.
weaknesses.
Yeah.
They've each got weaknesses. Like a guy like me can beat these guys because I have goaltending that they don't.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
so anybody with good, decent goaltending, if you can pick up the 2 easy goals, that's the reason why there's so many 4-3 scores, right?
It's true.
Because other teams are doing it
which
to
leads
we're
us
all
to
doing it
this-
to each other, to be honest.
Which leads us to the next team, just on the outside looking in, is Sealand Hockey Club. They come in this week and go 1-1 and are sitting at 3-5-0 for 8 points. They're only a point behind both the Capitals and the Rangers right now, and I have to believe that's on goaltending. Sealand easily handled Nick's move like Jagger 6-0, and the Islanders pounded Sealand 6-1. So they had one tough opponent, one easy opponent, but they're still on the outside looking in.
Well,
Goaltending.
Shesterkin, I mean,
Goaltending.
his goaltending. The only thing lately, Bennington's been a little bit of a struggle lately. I mean, St. Louis, I mean, I don't know what's happened to them as a team, but plus minus on their team.
I got to interrupt you here
pretty
for a
bad, but-
second. No, I got to interrupt you here for a second. Did you know that Shesterkin giving up 3 tonight in the third period? Do you know what his record is against the Islanders? Take a guess. He's played 9
I'm going to
games,
say that
9
you
times.
guys 9 times in his record.
Yeah.
4 and 5.
1-8.
1-8.
Yeah.
The Islanders own him.
But Georgiev,
interesting.
we could never beat Georgiev. Easily always beats
It's
Shesterkin, never
interesting.
Georgiev. It's hilarious. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Interesting.
I didn't mean to break your train of thought there. Carry on with
No,
C.
no,
Sorry.
no. So I think he's uh he 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 might sneak into the playoffs. I mean, um
Goaltending.
I don't think he's a major contender at this point. Um he's got some really good pieces though.
Yeah.
And
Well, he's been
his
down there a
prospects
while, eh?
are pretty good. But as I said earlier, you know, like he's a team that, you know, on a given week, Shesterkin and Binnington,
Yeah.
I mean, they can get 10, 12 goalie points, and you know that the save percentage is going to be well into the 940s.
Yeah.
And you know, when he can roll out those kind of weeks,
He can
because
get 10
what
point,
these guys
12-point weeks out of those guys. 10 point, 12-point weeks out
absolutely.
of them, for sure.
So he could be in the running for goals all the time, and
Yeah.
his team, he's got scoring
Plus
there.
minus and penalty
So
minutes. He's not bad in penalty minutes. So you never know.
So, and we all know that on a given week, we can all start with a healthy roster, and by the end of the week, the team that you might be playing has got 4 guys that are down, and 3 of them were on the second day of the of the week, right? You know,
Yeah.
so he's a pretender contender, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to say that Chris is, and you know, I like some of his pieces. There's no two ways about it. Um, he's got some young guys, and you know, Zegras and Sean Dursey, this guy's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
He's the Doherty replacement as far as I'm concerned. Um, he's got Michael Bunting. I mean, he's a good secondary guy for Toronto.
Yeah.
You know, like he'll be a 50, 60 point guy. So he's got scoring all over the place, you know. Pajot, I kind of little bit know about him. He could be a good 20, 35, 45 point player.
Yeah, he can be. He can be, but it's off to
Right.
a rough
You know,
start
so
this
he's got
year. Anyway, Keith, after fifth place, we dropped quite a ways down to 6 after that, but we're going to talk about that after this commercial break because we're okay. So in 6th place, I said there was a bit of a drop, and there is. So the Sealand Hockey Club has 8 points, and they're 1 point out of a playoff spot. But once you drop down there, you drop down another 3 points to the 6th place Scurvy, who are 2-5-1 for 5 points. And this week went 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. They tied the Highlanders 3-3, which was actually kind of impressive because Dan has been on a tear as of late, as we shall see once we get over to the Bossy division. And then they lost to the they lost to the Salt Dogs 5-2, and no shame there because Ryan's team's been playing very well as of late. So Torrin, new to the league, 6th place. What do you think? A lot better than what JP did. I'll say that.
Oh, not even close. I mean, kind of pissed me off at a drop by taking Buchnevich on me, and Huberto was the other one he took on me. So um, he knowledgeable hockey guy, and he's managed to build himself a team that is competitive. And considering where it came from, he's got some good assets, and his goaltending is a little bit banged up with Grubauer being out and Samsonov now being injured. So he's used the waiver wire coming up with Gibson and Wedgwood. You know, I'm not sold on that, but that's better than a lot of what other guys are doing. So defense is pretty good, I think, and overall scoring, I think he might come up light against the top tier teams, but he's got enough that he can beat anybody on a given week. So, but I think again he'll probably be on the bottom side. I mean, only so many teams can make the playoffs.
That's true. And
Nice
nobody.
ass.
Did you see me?
Yeah, you said nice ass.
I was trying.
Yeah, you were trying to, but you couldn't do it. You didn't get by Keith. Yeah, no, I'm actually quite impressed with what Torrin did. Like he literally had garbage to start with, and I'm like you said, you can compete with anybody on a given week. And that I don't see him as a playoff team this year, but I think that's probably a good thing for him anyway to not be in the playoffs. But well, then you never know, anything can happen in the playoffs. But
He
yeah,
doesn't give up. He doesn't give up.
Yeah, I know.
He'll try and get in there.
I know he will, and because
Yeah.
he knows anything can happen in the playoffs, and it's 100% true in fantasy hockey. That's why we all hate it but love it so much, and Sometimes it makes you want to slice your wrists, and other times it rarely makes you really happy.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna. I'm just scanning his defense. Done. Caleb Jones, okay, whatever. Matheson, when he gets back, will be helpful. Owen Power, Schultz, Zadorov. So he's got some possible penalty
Oh,
minutes
yeah.
and
Yeah.
some decent point production from the back end. So I'm not saying that he's done, but I don't think over the course of the season he'll be strong enough to be on the playoff side. So
Yeah, I think we both kind of see that probably the same way. And then, of course, right beside him in sixth spot is yourself, Keith. You had a bad week, or did you have a good week? I don't know. Going 0-2 at 2-5-1 for 5 points. I guess Keith will be the one to tell us whether he had a good week or a bad week or not. The Florida Gators beat him 4-3, and the Shiloh Rangers came up and beat the Stangs 5-2. How was your week?
I'm all right with the result. It kind of, I look at my team and I go, I'm going to have a lot of 4-3 and 5-2 scores because I've got enough. My goaltending's, I think I'm lucky to a point. I didn't expect Boston to be this good. And
Yeah,
Swayman
Allmark,
going
what a
down.
steal.
Yeah, well, at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
He could be available. And then I got a little bit lucky with Vanacek in New Jersey now that Blackwood's down. And so Vanacek's running pretty good.
Yeah.
So I've kind of seen in the last few weeks that my goaltending is actually pretty good against the rest. And I've been stealing goalie points. So I've gone looking for penalty minutes and plus minus guys. And if I can beat anybody, that's how it's going to happen. My offense just isn't good enough yet.
Yeah.
On the back end, especially.
Yeah.
So, I won't mind tanking, but I think in weeks where I play
Moves
the East
like
Coast
Jagger.
Brewers, who I have his first pick, I really, I'm seeing he's struggling for whatever reasons, and fantasy's hopefully going to fix this at some point.
I'm sure it
Because I
will.
don't see him sucking. I don't see the Brewers really sucking, but if I get every opportunity to beat him, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm playing Renee, well, Renee's struggling a little bit too. So I'm looking at the standings and I'm going, oh, it's time to play. And I'll take the 2 wins here and figure out how to get my losses the rest of the season. So
It's one of those teams,
I'm
right?
having my own fun. I'm having my own
Yeah.
game with my own game. So I'm all right missing the playoffs. I mean, I don't think that on the overall. I moved Goudreau and I moved Kane because they were just I was going to get no value for them
Yeah.
down the road, in my opinion, because they were just going to help me be too good to try to get to the bottom 4
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So you move some bodies and take your chances and let's just hope.
Well,
So, but
you made your way there and you did it in quick time. And that was even with that, getting that win that you didn't think you had. And so
yeah,
you're there, you're in the bottom 4. So mission accomplished. And in quick time. Now that's what I did. And I fought all year. I did everything I could to stay in that bottom 4. It was a fight. It was, like you said, it was my own little game. And it was exciting to me but I think you might have it a little too much to do it. I don't see bottom 4 for you.
well, that's how the trades of specific players going to help, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's got to be some contending teams wanting to see what Allmark.
For sure. For sure. There's trades to come. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can make some adjustments on the fly and stuff. And, I got enough injury reserve guys that sometimes you might have to rest your stars. You don't want them to be banged up when the playoffs come, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm good where I'm at. Yeah, I'm good at where I'm at.
All right, but at least you got bragging rights in the family, because bringing up the rear is none other than moves like Jagger. Nick, another successful week of 0-2, and He lost handily to the Flying Colors 6-1, and Sealand thumped him 6-0 as well, leaving him at 0-7-1 for 1 point. I still think it's going to be real hard for Nick to get to the bottom spot, but I think he's entrenched nicely in that bottom four there at 0-7-1.
Well, he's we talk a little bit, but not like we used to, as far as the hockey pool goes. So he's a little mischievous in ways that I don't suspect anymore now. So uh, he'll always come and talk to me if somebody sends him a trade offer, is whatever. But in a lot, he makes his own decisions pretty much now. We don't discuss every little thing, but I think that there's no question in my mind he's after one player and one player only.
Bedard.
And so yeah, because he could certainly be moving some of his talented guys and getting some pretty good choices for draft picks.
Yeah.
He's got some players there, but yeah, it's he like I said, he's got his own mind, but he's also watched everybody else for the last how many years figuring things out and how to do things. And at this stage right now, he obviously wants to rebuild, and he's got his eyes set on building a young team based on how his
Yeah.
draft went. So
Well, it's year 2 for him now
yeah,
in the rebuild. So I did the year 2 thing, and now look, I won a cup, and I'm pretty competitive this year as well, and I should be competitive next year as well. So it's a real you can do that with the 2-year rebuild, right?
yeah,
You can.
absolutely. Yep.
You can. Like it's just a matter of patience. I think maybe the advantage, Keith, we might have, me and you, over guys like Ryan Kelly and Blake and all them. A year to us seems like nothing. They're still young, right? They're still where those years, like, oh man, they think
Yeah.
they got a million left, right?
Yeah.
Because they're
Yeah.
still young enough. We know 2 years goes by like that, so I'll be super competitive in year number 3. Yeehaw! They don't think that far ahead. We do.
Yes. Well,
Because we got nothing better to do than sit around and do our pools.
exactly. Well, it's kind of funny that you say that because, like, I don't know, I do spend a lot of time on the CBS site because
Yeah, I
that's how I can figure out in my mind who's actually contender and who's a pretender and
Yeah.
who the legit teams are.
That's
And
true. Anyway,
I
so
can't wait till we get over to your division.
that brings us
I mean,
to the
that's
conclusion
you
of the
guys are just
Langway division here. So just to recap, we're going to go through it again one more time. So we got the Wolfpack in first place with 16 points. Got the Salt Dogs in second, nicely in second, and well entrenched, 13 points. There's 3 points from first and 3 points from the Capitals. So the Capitals and Rangers in third and fourth, bringing it up at 9 points. And Sealand only 1 point out in fifth spot. The Scurvy and Mustang tied for 7th spot with 5 points, and Moose Lake Jagger bringing up the rears with 1 point. So next up, we're going over to the Bossy division, and well, I guess we are going to be starting with myself. As the Islanders lead the pack in the Bossy division, having a successful week, 2-0, leaving the record at 6-1-1 for 13 points. The Islanders beat Flying Colors. That was the big showdown of week number 3, was the Islanders and Flying Colors, because both teams were tied for first place in the Bossy division, and the Islanders won that game. And then the Islanders had a much easier game against Sealand, beating them 6-1. So the Islanders sitting at the top of the Bossy, first spot. What do you got to say? I feel pretty good about my team. I feel pretty solid about my team. I think I'm not thinking to make any moves right now. I worry if that makes me stale. Kind of like I guess what scares me is what happened to Renee last year. You know what I mean? Like he had everything set and he did nothing, and it ended up catching him at the end. So
well, okay. First of all, your goaltending is, I know Bobrovsky's doing his Bobrovsky thing every second year type thing with this fucking guy. Sorokin obviously is just,
he's lights out.
if he's not number one now, he's in the top 3. you got Carter on the injury list, you got Palat on the injury list, you got Kachuk suspended. Well, like kind of bonehead move, but
Oh,
thanks for the 10 minutes.
that worked out really good for me because he only plays 2 games this week. So yeah, it worked out really well. I wasn't going to play him anyway.
Oh, he's got 4 games.
So
He's
it
got
worked
4
out
games.
great. What?
No, he's got 4 games.
He got 2.
No, he's got 4 games. I'm looking at it right now.
What? No, he was only suspended 2 games. You're
I
high.
know, but his schedule says 4 games.
Oh yeah, for the
I'm
next
looking
week.
at its stats.
The next
Oh,
week,
okay.
not this week.
Oh, you're right. It went to period 6 on me. My
Yeah,
apologies.
you're looking at the wrong week. It always shows you
Oh.
the week ahead.
I'm gonna have
Yeah.
another tote just because I want things to be easier on me. Barzell, I mean, come on, like
Guys lights
I know
up.
he hasn't scored a goal yet, unless he scored one tonight.
Nope.
But 14 assists already. Is
Well,
he back? I think he's
15,
back.
15, he got one tonight.
Okay, so he's got 15 points, so he's better than a point a game. Doesn't matter how he's getting his points. I don't care. He's getting them. So that's not killing you. Jamie Benn, another fucking guy that's come back.
I benched him for that week.
I
When he
don't
got his
care.
hat
I'm
trick
just
in
saying
that, I benched him.
Oh, did you? Okay. But at this stage of the game, in reality, if you look at it, you go, "Oh, this guy's at like 9 points already in 12 games," and it's like, well, that's a lot better production than he was producing the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's always going to be that guy that's going to get those bad 10-minute misconducts
Oh
because he
yeah.
does the things.
Yeah, he always gets me those. He's beauty
So
for that.
he's not hurting you.
Yeah.
But the fact that you got Kucherov and Brad Marchand, like you steal, you got Panarin and Tarasenko, who you steal, and this Oliver Wallstrom guy. Well, you know what? This guy's a legit guy. I think I'm hoping to see some massive improvement from him because I really think that he was held back far too long.
Big time.
And so then
Big
your
time.
defense, I mean, no, Dobson, he's kind of a steal, and Drew Doughty, he's still Drew Doughty. He's going to get you his 40, 50 points. And add in penalty minutes for you. Pulak, well, it's probably an Islander that you don't really want because I think you have better options for that
But
slot.
he's
Morgan
just,
O'Reilly and
he's
Kevin
just
Toews, these
finishing the
guys are
last
elite.
year of a long contract. That's why he's on the team. Right.
Oh, okay.
But he's
Well,
good enough to be on the team as
yeah,
that
I think
spot. I'd like to get
as you
better if I
said
could.
yourself, yeah. As you said yourself, you don't think that there's a trade for you to be made. Yeah, you can be moving
defense.
Lafreniere.
I think defense I
Oh,
can make the trade.
You can move Lafreniere for defense though,
Yeah.
right?
Probably.
You gotta. If you do that, I think you start separating yourself. But one thing that I would suggest is that for your long run, where you say what what Rene did and how he this, that, and everything else, you can find roster space for a 1-year goalie
Oh,
and solidify that. And you do that, and I think that you probably don't need to make too many moves.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got enough core guys with a decent bench. Your prospects are your prospects, and there's no requirement for you to move them. Move a pick or something to solidify a couple of spots with one or two teams where you can pluck guys, and you don't need to do much. There's a separation in the league already, and it's you. You're just playing in a tougher division than Bo.
Yeah, I just made it through the East this week. But anyway, I was tied up with the very surprising and still very competitive Flying Colors, even though this week they went 1-1. But I guess what can you say? They lost to the Islanders 5-2. So can't be a bad thing. It was a competitive game all the way. So, and then Garrow easily handled moves like Jagger. So you probably had one of the toughest games and one of the easiest games all in the same week, going 1-1. Leads him at 5-2-1 for 11 points though.
Yeah, well, good goaltending. Too bad Ottinger seems to be on the hurt side. We don't know the full report on him yet, but with Hellebuck and Ottinger, that's probably the premier number one tandem in the entire league, and so he's going to get 2 goals there more often than not.
So me and Ryan Kelly talked about that on the last podcast. You remember about how I said that Key should have listened to you, Ryan, and taken Hellebuck. Remember his prediction in
No.
one? Hellebuck's
Yeah.
great this
No,
year. And
he didn't say. Was it Hellebuck?
yes, it was
Somebody
Hellebuck that
else.
you passed up, and he
Okay.
told you to take him. And he was there for you too, and you didn't take him. So I went, oh man.
All
Because
right. So can you imagine?
well,
Okay.
Bonus
So
works his defense
if
around
I take him,
Eaton's
then I don't get
defense.
Marner.
True.
And I felt with Allmark
Yeah.
and Vanacek that I'd have a
Yeah.
decent enough goaltending. I just got lucky. But anyway,
Hindsight's
this
2020.
this
Yep.
this Garrow, he's kind of built a. He doesn't have any superstars. The difference is what he does
Solid.
have is he's got solid depth. Like I like that style personally. It's gotten me to a lot of finals.
Yep.
And Krubalik, like what a godsend this guy's turned out for him. Rasmus
Yeah.
Dolan,
I didn't really
like
know much
he's
about him. Oh,
yeah,
Dolan.
like
He's awesome.
exactly.
He's
So
really
over
coming into his own.
the years, he's managed to put some pieces together, and he's a possible contender. But man, it's tough because I think your division is you guys are going to lay a beating on each other.
Yeah.
But then you got to rely on beating us on the other side
Garrow
because you
did
guys.
Garrow did
He's
a
going to
really
be
smart thing where he's smart enough to know that when you pick a Dolan, not to sign him right away. He let him mature before he signed him in that too.
okay.
So that was smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's completely solid in second place, but big surprise for me. And this was a big surprise. But then I took a look at the team once again and went, wow, holy smokes, there's a lot of good teams around. Is the Florida Gators. They went 2-0 this week, tied with the Flying Colors for second spot at 5-2-1 with 11 points. The Gators beat the Flames, and they also beat you, the Mustangs, Keith, 4-3. The Gators beat the Flames 4-2.
He won that game against me late. I think
Did
I
he?
pretty much carried that game most of the week.
He gave me a
He's got
struggle.
Yeah, he struggled. I got him with the goalies again. But on an overall, I did try to lose both those games. So I had a really low scoring week.
Want me to take over talking here? I can talk about the Gators, no problem.
His again, another depth team. He's got Matthews. He's Olofsson. I mean, fucking that guy. Every time I look, it's scoring another power play goal.
You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of that team that when you're down in the bottom and you come up and you get some really, really solid pieces, but you're just still not depthy enough. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Right.
you're still gonna need that one more year, and you're torn because it's good enough to put you up into a spot like tied for second place right now. Even though Fancy will disagree later that's the place for the Florida Gators, but still, he's competitive with some teams up there, and
Well, he's got some gunners. Like
yeah,
Jason Robertson. You know,
yeah,
like seriously, like you look at that and you go, I think I was looking at the Dallas stats and I looked at it and I went, that fucker's got 18 points.
Well, he got 40
Like
goals last year. It's like I
hey,
said,
well, I know that.
it's like Dallas is just this area that doesn't exist in the NHL that nobody knows about. I don't know what it is with Dallas. And yet you got a guy like Robertson putting up 40 points. This guy should be being celebrated as a superstar in the league. Kind of deal, like,
Absolutely. Yeah, so like I've already said it, like he's got Couture and Gensel and Ryan Johansson from
Johansson.
Nashville, like
Yeah,
Krejci's come back and I think
I
played
know.
really well. And then he's got Malkin, and like Malkin doesn't suck. He's still a point a game guy, and
Yeah,
so he's balanced all the way through. He could surprise.
yeah.
He
I
could
agree.
surprise.
I
He's got
agree.
Georgiev and Quick. He's got Varlamov too. So that's kind of a
Varlamov's
decent
going to play
backup if
1
you
out
look-
of 3 games.
exactly on a team that seems to be winning most of their games.
Yeah. So that's a
Right.
good
So
thing.
he's got decent goaltending and decent backup. I think he's going to be a
Varlamov
pain
was
in
a
the
big
ass.
reason we beat the Rangers tonight. Big reason. Like other
Okay,
teams
there
don't
you
have
go.
backups like Varlamov.
I think Blake's done a pretty good job here, and
Yeah.
again,
He's going to be
he does have
competitive
some
for a
upper
playoff
echelon
spot.
guys.
I think
Well,
he is. I think he's going to be in the run for a playoff spot all year.
yeah, you guys could take 5.
It's possible.
You guys could take 5 spots.
Doesn't look like it right now, but like I said, mostly we've only played our own divisions. We'll be crossing over this week, so
Right.
that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, the biggest surprise for me this week was East Coast Brewers falling down, having a week of 1-1. The Brewers took care of the Lakers 4-3, but then they lost badly to the Wolfpack 6-1. So Brewers come in at 3-3-2 for 8 points. That's 3 points back of the Gators. I know.
And you got to look at if Bo beat him that much, is there that much of a difference between the two of them?
At the time at that game, there was. It was
Yeah.
it's quite a difference.
Yeah. So I'm okay with Ryan and the Brewers kind of struggling a little bit there. You know, like I got made a trade with him, and I'd like to see him fall
you're
down the
looking at
standings
draft
a little
picks.
bit more.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
Fancy. I think Fancy still believes in Dono.
He's going to be good. He's going to be good. You know, like don't. He's that team that I don't think that you can judge in the first eight games.
Yeah.
I think that he's there. Everything will balance out better for him in the long run. I think that that's how his team's kind of built. I don't think that he's going to rack up 60 points in a week, but there's no reason why he can't hit 40 in a week.
True.
Which at the end of the day is going to
Yeah.
be more teams than more often than not. And and then we come back down to this goaltending issue, and his goalies are hurt. You know, Carter Hart, Frederick Anderson.
Hart's been
So he's
outstanding
relying
this
on.
year. Hart's just
I
been
know.
unreal.
And remember last year when
Yeah.
people were slaying
I know.
Carter Hart, and I said, I'll take him.
He's a dud.
Right? You know, like
yeah, he's been a stud
Tristan
this year.
Jarry. And,
Yeah.
like sadly, Pittsburgh's kind of sunk a little bit the last few weeks.
I
they've
can
lost
live
quite
with
a few
that.
games.
I hate Pittsburgh. I've had enough of them.
Okay. So at the end of the day, with the injuries and everything, his goaltending is somewhat sort of suspect, and I think that can have some fluctuation in how how he'll fit in the standings.
True.
You know, because if he loses to a team that's got good goaltending because the goaltending kind of hurt him.
But I think
And
he's
this
got a
is
pretty good core at 20, or a pretty good core at 18. Yeah, for sure. So
Yes.
he's definitely going to soar up those up the standings, I believe, anyway. But I think also almost equally surprising is tied with the East Coast Brewers is the Harrison Lakers at 3-3-2, identical record of 8 points. This week they go 0-1-1 as the Living Skies Capitals tie the Lakers, and the East Coast Brewers beat the Lakers. So disappointing week for Rene. And I'm surprised that he's down this far in the standings. I had him picked up before the season started. I had him picked as the winner.
That's correct.
Still good.
You
Still
look
good.
at you look at his team, and you can see one big deficit for him though. He doesn't have his goaltending has really let him down with Markstrom and Soros, right? Saros, and like again, we've been talking it all along. All these high-scoring teams, and Rene being one of them, they're struggling in net, and this is the reason why he's picked up a couple of ties and taken a couple of losses, because the teams with a good goaltending are getting those goals, and then they're stealing one and then tying another category. And on the overall, look at how many ties we're in week 8, and look at how many ties there are already.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's got to be record. Like it's got to be like a record pace.
We've had a lot of ties.
but
It's kind of crazy.
He's got a deep team. Ekblad's coming back.
Yeah,
and so
that'll be
his
huge.
defense just gets even that much better. And so Rene's kind of being hit by the injury bug.
Rene's
and
one of those
goaltending.
guys I don't want to play in the playoffs, but I know my route through is going to be somewhere through him. Maybe, I don't know. At least at the start of the year, I felt that way. I'm still expecting big things out of Rene's team, and
Absolutely,
as well as Dono's too. So
if his goaltending rebounds the way that it's supposed to, as
Yeah.
it should. I mean, Calgary and Nashville don't usually struggle the way that they're struggling.
True.
So their
But
numbers will improve.
this is awesome that we're this confused about who should be where, and because wow, this team's too good to be down here, and oh wow, this team's up here, and it's crazy. It's
I
crazy.
think that
It's
that's
fun to
what's
see.
happening. Everybody's beating everybody here, and
Yeah,
they're all close games.
yeah, it seems that way.
Obviously, Pitter Patter and Nick obviously don't really have the competitive teams, but everybody else seems to be able to make games close, right?
Yeah,
Why am I sitting on my TV on Saturday night watching the highlights on YouTube to see who's got the assist before they're being posted?
yeah.
Right?
But then
You know?
in the next spot coming up is one of the biggest movers and shakers in the last 2 weeks, going 3-0-1 is the Greenwood Highlanders, and now their record is 3-4-1 for 7 points. Don't forget they started out 0-4. They went 1-0-1 this week. Highlanders easily took care of Pit Pat, and they ended up in a surprise tie with the Scurvy. But also once again, one of those teams that puts us some big points at different times, like Ovi and McDavid and those guys. And so throw the Highlanders into the mix for the playoffs in the Bossy division. Why not? Why not?
Yep. Yeah. Uh, he's got a decent defense, I think. A little bit
got
that adds here
McDavid.
and there. I
got
really
McDavid,
like
man.
Gustafson. I get that. I'm looking at goaltending and defense. He's kind of suspecting goaltending. These guys, both these teams are struggling with Fleury and Kemper there. Mrazek just cannot be played. You don't know what's going to happen in Chicago, right? Although
Yeah,
they are
that's true.
competing a little bit this year. His
Yeah.
defense is fine, and guys have let him down too. Kessel is non-existent in the offensive world. It seems like now, he's literally the hot dog. And then you look at guys like Mark Scheifele. I think he's really underperformed in Winnipeg. So
Yeah.
it's kind of holding him back a little
Yeah,
bit.
the only thing about
But man,
Scheifele, the
everywhere
only
else
thing
is
about
good.
Keith, the one thing about Scheifele, the same way where Hellebuck's going to be even better because of Rick Bowness, Scheifele's also going to get less points with Bowness's system. I'm telling you right now. That's one thing I do know for sure. I watched
Okay.
Dallas's system a lot last year, and while he was coaching, it was pretty much watching Barry Trotz. It was pretty much watching the same Islander team,
Yeah.
watching Dallas play.
He's got some exciting players here, though. Nick Suzuki.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
that's
a target that Torrance should be chasing. Knowing that Torrance is such a Habs fan, that Suzuki would be the guy that I'd want as a Canucks fan, right?
Yeah.
I got my JT Miller, so yeah, I like Torrance or I like Dan's team. He's a pain in the ass team, is what he is. I don't think he's a massive contender yet. As you said earlier,
Yeah.
he's that one more draft.
Yeah.
Where he
I
drafts
agree.
and gets one more good draft.
Yeah.
And then look out, because then I think that he just goes from just getting in close to trying to beat the top teams. He's going to be very competitive with them, but in over 2 weeks, more often than not, the better teams are supposed to prevail.
Right.
But any given day with that lineup, I mean, Ovechkin's plus minus, though, it's almost like he's given up his defensive game because he's all about trying to just catch the goal scoring record.
Yeah.
That might come back and bite him in some weeks, because if Ovechkin is going to play like that, then that takes a pretty big stat away from him.
Yeah.
He needs that plus minus being in the plus from Ovechkin. That's what he's supposed to be. Patrick Kane, of course, will be just even better when he gets traded.
Yep.
Rumors of him going to Buffalo.
Wow. But I thought that would make sense anyway, that he would go to Buffalo. That's where he's from. He likes Buffalo. So it seems like that could be a great landing spot for him. I know the Rangers are going to try, who knows? So But coming
Okay.
next up is the Flames with Fleury, and they once again they won a game this week that they didn't want to win. Or maybe they did, beating Pitter Patter, but you're just not going to beat Pitter Patter. It's just not going to happen. And then Flames lost to the Rangers. So Flames sitting at 3-5 for 3-5 for 6 points, pardon me, for 7th spot in the Bossy division. And I see once again the Flames as the team that's going to be in the 5-8 and not the 0-4.
He's caught in the trap, eh?
Yep.
The trapezoid.
That's what
It's
I
tough
see.
to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like his goaltending long term.
Too good for bottom 4. And then to make matters worse this year, it looks like some good teams are going to be in the 5-8 that aren't going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, so the race for the 5th pick, like
Yeah,
those guys don't want to be trading everything all in at that point either.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
man, well, see, it just creates
It's a tough
exciting
spot.
times.
It's a tough spot.
West, yeah, he is in a tough spot, I think, because of how strong you guys are at the top.
Yeah, yeah,
right.
sure.
So if he's going to play you guys more than the other division, so sadly, it just could be a war of attrition where he's just going to get a beat down from one team to the next team. But he's got a good bench, some good bench players there, and he's clearly fucking tanking because he's left his injured players in his lineup. So
Yeah.
I don't think he gives a
He's
shit.
beating up on some teams too with penalty minutes. That's a problem
absolutely
for him with his penalty minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes ended up hurting him. So
Zach Cassian,
like it. Yeah.
You can never know when he comes out with 25 minutes in a game, eh?
Yeah. But I think Wes is going the right direction here. And of course, I don't see any stopping of Pitter Patter, who's in 0-8-0 right now, going over 2 for the week, losing to the Flames, who's above them. So no chance there. And the Sea Dogs 5-1 over Pitter Patter. So I could see Pitter Patter, even though I think it's doubtful, taking a run at Dan's record of 1 point.
He's going to win a game or two along the way.
Oh, we thought that about Dan too.
Oh,
1 point, like that's going to be tough. That'll be a tough record to ever break, I think.
I don't think that. Yeah, he's
one tie.
But Steve set up to tank. I mean, he's got.
He learned his lesson well.
He's got so many.
He learned his lesson well when he got boxed out with me and Ryan that year. He got boxed out because me and Kelly knew what we were doing, and he started his late, and he just got screwed by the tiebreaker shit and all that crap that was going on.
Right.
And so he just missed by a minuscule of getting down into that bottom 4. And if he he would have been totally competitive for the first overall pick. And he had a few misses. So Steve has learned his lesson well, and he started early, and there's going to be no stopping him from going down there.
Well, you know what? His lineup is one that I don't know if I would really even bother changing a lot. He's got a lot of 3rd and 4th line guys as trying to be 1st and 2nd line guys. And, like I see TJ Oshie's on the injury reserve, but he picked him up out of waivers too. So he lost his waiver spot.
I almost thought about
I
almost thought about picking up Oshie, and then I went, no, he's always injured.
I don't want to give up a waiver spot for him. There might be one that comes along the line that, you go, wait a minute. Sorry for your luck, but I think that guy might be good for me right now.
I thought about it. I thought about it for sure. I did.
So he doesn't. It's very obvious. I mean, looking at his team, he's got no goaltending. Obviously,
yeah.
He's got Leonard and he's going to be in for the season. Perfect. And Blackwood, and so he's hurt, and so he's got absolutely no good goaltending. So he's in the best position of all because he's just set his lineup, and guess what? Unless I get any trade offers, what you see, boys, is what you're getting.
It's pretty much
And,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
so he,
He set up
he
well.
could certainly improve. He can set himself up really well because of some of the guys that he's got. There's some pickings there that some of the top leading teams are going to want. I mean, like Mackenzie Blackwood is going to be, I think, in my opinion, he's going to be a pain in the ass between him and Vanacek. He could be a decent number 1A
Yeah.
for a team that's got everything and just needs like that
Anyway,
one
Keith,
B goalie.
Keith, I'm
Yeah.
going to do a quick recap here because we're going to get booted again here in about less than a minute. So we're just going to recap on the Bossy division here. We got the Islanders coming in at first place with 13 points. Not far behind, though, is Flying Colors in second spot with 11. But also tied with them is the Florida Gators with 11 points as well. And then in fourth spot, we've got the East Coast Brewers and the Harrison Lakers at 8 points. And just below them, 1 point down at 7 is the Highlanders. And then we have the drop in the Flames down to 6, and then Pitter Patter with a 0. So that's how it looks for now with the Bossy division. And basically, we're 1/5 of the way through the schedule. All right, so we've come to that part of the segment here that we like to do a little bit of trivia. So Keith, are you up for a little bit of trivia tonight? So see how the Mustangs do. Obviously, with no cheating. Are you ready for the
Okay,
first question?
go ahead.
All right.
Sure.
I actually it's a pretty easy one, maybe. Who was the first ever player selected in the no control zone?
Crosby.
Who? Crosby?
Crosby.
Nope. I'll give you one hint. It's Ryan Kelly who had the pick.
Oh, did he take Marchand?
Nope. Steven Stamkos. Steven
Okay, I guess
Stamkos.
I'm trying to remember back 7-8 years, right? So it's like, okay, fuck, who was the first pick back
Yeah.
then? Who would it, but
2014.
That's
That's
kind
a
of-
while back.
that's funny that you did that to me because one thing I do tend to do is that I do go back in previous drafts and see how guys
And
are
checks out.
drafting and stuff.
Well,
So I kind of should have known that, but that's still
I
pretty
thought
good. That's
I-
still a good one.
I thought there might be a possibility that I might be having Ryan on with us tonight as well, but he's working nights and there's nothing better to do during mids. So Ryan obviously would have known that answer since he was the one who drafted. I mean, I remember I drafted Henrik Lundqvist. I think it was 4th overall. I can't remember 3rd or whatever. Anyway, I picked Lundqvist. So I had a second question ready, so you can make up for it here. Who went second to the Chiefs? That would be Renee, Chilliwack Chiefs.
In the very first year?
Very first year, right after Steven Stamkos.
was-
Who went next?
Oh, and Renee had that pick?
Yep.
Fuck. 7-8 years ago.
This will blow your
I'm going to
mind.
say Pecorine. I'm going to say
Oh,
Pecorine.
Good choice. Good guess. Tuukka Rask. That's an excellent guess. Going for the goaltender. Yeah, Tuukka Rask. 2nd overall pick.
Okay.
All
Wow.
right.
Okay.
So how did you guys do out there in trivia tonight? Did you guys get any of those right? I know RK, you probably got the first one, but that second question for you as well. And you should have known that since you're a Bruin fan. So anyway, you know what that brings us to, right? You do realize it's time to talk to our girl Fancy and see what she is thinking of our breakdown throughout the week and that, and see who she thinks is the Stanley, or not the Stanley Cup, the Bremen Cup contenders. And we'll start with 5th spot, none other than Dono, East Coast Brewers, 34, 22 and 4 for 72 points. In the top 5, the standings don't really show it right now with them in a tie for 4th spot. in the Mossy division, but Fancy sees Dono as a little better than that, and she sees him as the 5th best in the league right now.
And I think as we discussed earlier, he's going to be there. There's no question.
For sure.
I don't think is he where he should be? Maybe not. But as far as fantasy stats go, I'm personally a believer of it. And so therefore, if he's the 5th place guy, that means he's beating the teams he should be. And he's probably getting good games against the games that he's tied and lost.
Yep.
So go back and look at it, really, I guess. Yeah, he's still. I hope to lay another one on him this week, to be honest. But that's scheduling sometimes can be in your favor sometimes too, right?
Oh yeah.
You could be the 2nd best scorer all week, and you played that one team.
Yep.
That was beating everybody.
Yeah. And nothing.
And it just happens, and
yeah.
So, but he's not going to finish there. He'll be in the top 3, is what I say.
I think he's going to move up too as well. Yeah, he made that nice trade with you, getting Gaudreau, but
yep.
I don't know. Wow, that Gaudreau, that's still a shocker, man. Gaudreau going to Columbus, I still can't get over that. But coming in 4th with Fancy, and for me, it's a pleasant surprise. And they've been up here all year, and they're sticking around. And 4th spot is flying colors. And they're coming in with a record of 37, 15, and 8 for 82 points. That's a 10-point difference between him and Dono.
Serious business. Hi, boys. I'm here to play.
That's a gap. This early in the year, that's a gap.
Yeah.
So Garrow looking real good. 4th spot in fancy stats for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said earlier, it's kind of nice to see that there's different people up there rather than the perennial heavyweights, right?
Yeah.
So this just tells me that these guys are involved and they're participating, so it's good.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
And I hope he continues keep going. And
Garrow took the slow build, but he tried to always be competitive. He always fought, like he never tanked to get down into 0 to 4 or anything like that. He always tried to make playoffs, but which kind of hurt him, I think, overall in the long run, because he kept getting in that 5 to 8 slot a lot, and sometimes it's good.
And not being strong enough to finish in that 5 slot.
Yeah.
So that's just a bad spot to be in.
Ending up with 7 and 8 a lot, and that really hurts the build for sure.
Yeah.
But
the positive is that it's like, I'm glad to see that the participation level is increasing, and it's obviously that people are wanting to improve their teams, not just in Pitter Patter's case. I don't blame him if he's dormant, but he's probably going to pay attention to the scores and stuff. So on the overall side of it, it's everybody's paying attention and they're trying to do and make the seasons fun, right? That's the reason why we do fantasy anyway. The money is just a bonus if you get there.
I don't know about you. If I'm going to tank to get the worst spot in the league, I've got some kind of plan how to win that 0 to 4. That's the whole kicker to that bottom 4 thing. You need to have a double plan.
Dan did it well. And he put them all on the bench,
and you can still get screwed. Like I really think I could have got Draisaitl. I should have gotten Draisaitl, but Brian beat me that one game. I went 5-1 in the round robin, and I didn't get him, all because of one stupid game.
But Draisaitl, Panarin.
True. There's a difference. There's a difference. Oh, there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference. For sure. He's had Draisaitl twice. I would have loved him just once.
Oh. Yeah. What about Connor
Like,
McDavid?
how do you get him back? How do you get him back after you trade him? I don't get it, man. Like, I love
I think somebody did that last year, didn't they? Didn't
what?
somebody have McDavid and they traded him? And then
Well,
they got
yeah,
him at the
Dan.
first pick
Dan,
overall
Dan
again?
traded him to Wes, and then Wes traded him to me. So
And then
that-
then Dan drafted him this year.
yes, yeah. Well, yeah. Who else
Yes.
is he gonna take, right? So anyway,
So he got him right back.
no surprise in third spot. You've got your Lincoln Salt Dogs. RK is always competitive, coming in at 43, 14, and 3, 7 points above the Flying Colors with 89 points. So looking strong once again, top 3 for RK with the Salt Dogs.
Yeah. When he solidifies his goaltending, look out. I think he can catch up to you.
Oh,
He can chase you down.
I even said to him, I said, you're lacking goaltending. And I know he knows it. And it's hard, man. Anybody with anybody doesn't want to give those people up. And there's not a whole lot of tankers with really great goaltending and if they do have great goaltending, it's probably in the 4 or 5 year variety that they want to keep the guy.
Yeah. Yep. Well, like I said earlier,
How do you get
you got a
goaltending?
pretty talented guy right now that's sitting number 1 overall in the NHL, and he can be moved.
Yeah.
Well, he will be moved. Asset management is an amazing thing.
Absolutely. All right. So Ryan's sitting nice in third spot. And so instead of saying who's second, do you want to take a crack at who's first overall?
You are first overall.
That would be correct. The Courtney Islanders coming in first overall, once again at 58-2 for 102 points. However, big difference from when I talked about fantasy stats 2 weeks ago. The Islanders were way ahead of everybody. Right now, the second place Wolfpack are 47-8-5 for 99 points and are only 3 points back of the Islanders. So the Wolfpack is closing ground on the number 1 spot. But for this week, Fantasy is still predicting a Courtney Islanders Bremen Cup. So that could change in the very near future. And once again, Bo is off to another good start this week.
Well, he's served notice and he made moves and we have to remember something that I've seen, well, we've all seen, to be honest, a team start 0-8 and
Yep.
at the end of the year, that 0-8 team won the championship.
Yep.
And hi, Renee.
That's insane. I still would have thrown in for the rebuild that year. I still can't believe that he won 0-8 and he won.
But the same thing can be said for an 8-0 team right now. He could all of a sudden get a few bad injuries and what have you, and then he can all of a sudden fall off the pace himself. And but that being said, I think that there's no question in my mind that the leaders of the pack are both you and Bo, and fantasy stats saying that anyway.
Yeah.
And this time right now, anyway. By the time we get through all the trades and the deadline and this, that, and everything else, well, that can change, right?
Yeah. And injuries is big, always big. Like, don't forget, there's season enders, right? We're not in that territory.
Yeah.
Well, you can be anytime in that territory, but the real territory is around the 40 game mark. If you might lose a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to bring him back till the playoffs. So, well, great. Our season's over. Thanks. So there's those, right, that you might have to deal with.
Yeah.
And like, I can
You
see
benefited from those kind of trades.
Yeah.
You benefited from those kind of trades.
Absolutely.
You took those injured guys.
Yeah.
And you took those injured guys and replaced them with good guys, but just with lesser term and stuff. And you allowed yourself to.
I gave the person at the time the chance to win.
Absolutely, yes.
That's the trade I
so
gave.
You benefited
I gave them
long-term.
immediate for my long-term future.
Yeah. So anyway, if you were to ask me right now, I'd pretty much say that the runaway train is both you and Bo, and everybody else is that's falling behind. They need to do some catching up, and I think that there's, like I said earlier, there's lots of trades available, and there's always guys that are willing to move to try to, do they want to step back a little bit and go, hey, wait a minute, you know what? Maybe I'm not pretender or contender. I'm simply just gonna play it out and however it works out. Some guys are roster restricted, like if they've got so many prospects, their lineup's their lineup,
Yeah. Yeah, for
right?
sure.
There's not a lot of adaptability and stuff. So
So
that
anyway,
that changes the standings over the course of the season, in my opinion.
but
So
the 1/5 mark right now, Fancy's got the Courtney Islanders finishing with the cup this year. That could change at any given time. But you know what that means? That it brings us to that time of the night when it is. Are you a pretender
or a contender?
There you go. Our game, we got that in sync a little better, I guess.
Yeah.
Next time, we'll get them next time. We could always do a take two, and nobody would know, but I would know.
Okay.
We're just going to bring it to you as it comes. So anyway, we've already kind of beat
Laughter.
this horse to death already, Keith. The only person I got, I don't really have any pretenders out there right now. I just have one guy who's a contender, and that's the Brewers at 34, 22, and 4 for 72 points. I mean, they should be better than they are in the divisional standings. That's
Yeah.
So they are a contender for sure. And so I just have that one team in a contender spot right now. Everybody else is pretty much in line, and which is really odd for this time. However, you can usually notice the big spread about at the halfway point of the season is when really out of
it's Christmas time.
yeah, when somebody's
Christmas time,
where
another
they
6
should
weeks.
be. Yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
I
that's
think
really all I got for this week is just Dono, and I think we both said we both expect him to move up.
absolutely. I think that like Renee's obviously struggled too to start off with. I guess the key for you more than anything is to stay ahead of them is that you just can't be losing either. You need to make sure that your health is going to be good and your depth is good.
Yeah.
And remember that, just because you may be pulling away from them in the fantasy stats right now, you don't win the championship in November.
Oh God, no.
It's so the important thing is that there's a lot of teams still in it, and you can see that they're not just sitting back.
That's right, and they'll be upset.
The waiver wire has been the waiver wire is being used very well.
Yeah.
No matter the draft or whatever, we always find a gem in the waiver wire. And this year's waiver wire, I mean, there's a few guys that have already won already because they grabbed guys, a week before that they actually took off. And so sometimes you don't need to make the trade. Sometimes it's just a waiver wire acquisition. I'm surprised somebody hasn't grabbed one of the Toronto goalies, unless they've done it. I'm surprised nobody's grabbed like Kellgren from Toronto. Somebody should be struggling with a goaltender. He's going to be the guy that's starting the majority of their games going forward, because until Matt Murray comes back, and Samsonov comes back.
We know that franchise is cursed, so everybody just stays away.
Remember the days of Mike Palmateer? He proved that theory wrong.
For sure. But anyway, Keith, even though we're having a good time baked and everything to keep everybody's interest, we should probably finish this off with the games of the week coming up that I picked out for us to follow this week. And I kind of thought that the one interesting one was probably the Courtney Islanders and the Lincoln Salt Dogs, both 6-1 and 1-1. So seems like
that's just kind of like
to me.
What's that? Like a bragging rights. Oh shit!
Kind of like
that's almost like
best 6-1-1 team. That's right. Who's the best 6-1-1 team right now? The looks like the Islanders have got the upper hand right now, but it's early. It's early. Still early. Anything can happen. But that would definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a game of interest.
At the end of the day, I think you both end up with 40 points. Now, I think the difference, but for you guys right now would be whose goaltending is going to show up.
Yeah. That's for sure. If Bobrovsky carries on like he's been doing, I could be a dead man walking.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really did.
So I think really that's what that comes down to is that whose goaltending is going to show up here? You know, like, um, I don't know. We can't predict everything, but I mean,
Well,
what
Sorokin
about a
started
goalie
out
that
okay for the
owns a
Islanders.
specific team?
For the Islanders,
Okay.
Sorokin started out okay. He went 935 and got the 2 points. So Sorokin did his part in the first game. That's the only
Right.
goaltender who's played it well up until tonight. And tonight they played, but I haven't looked at him in that. The only
Yeah.
other game that I could see of, I mean, there was a couple where, you know, like the teams are 3-3-2 and they're both 3-3-2 and they're playing each other, but that's not really the game of the week. I guess I looked at the Wolfpack at 8-0 and the Gators at 5-2-1 just to see if, you know, like maybe an upset game of the week is possible that the Gators could come through and beat the Wolfpack. I don't know.
Gators, Wolfpack 5-2. Okay, that's oh, well, I see somebody got a shutout tonight. Jonathan, no, it's still late in the third period, but 1-0 for Minnesota. So Jonathan Quick stealing
Oh,
a
wow.
shutout here would be spectacular. For the
Yeah.
Gators to get off to a start with that in goaltending is very good because when you look across the board and you see Husso and Martin Jones, I mean,
Yeah, that'd be a good spot to beat him
they
at.
both got wins today with a 939 and a 960 save
They
percentage.
both did?
So, you know, like there's 4
of them
points, so that matches quick.
Jones and
Okay.
Jones and who's his other guy?
And Husso.
They both won
Husso.
today?
Sorry, Husso lost in the shootout.
Oh, okay. Oh, still gets a point. Yeah.
Husso lost in the shootout. My apologies. Martin Jones with Seattle beat Nashville 5-1. So the goaltending is going to be close there.
Yeah.
The bad part for the Wolfpack is that in his lineup is Evander Kane and Dmitry Orlov and Jared McCann, and they're apparently injured at this point right now. So that can have an effect on the game at the end of the week too. I mean, Evander Kane, if you miss 2 or 3 games with him, that could be 2-3 points and 8 penalty minutes, right?
Yeah.
And the bonus, I mean, so there's a little bit of an injury there. Yeah, that could you're right, 100%. There could be an upset here. The
Yep.
Gators pulling this off.
And the
Um,
only other game of the week that I could come up with is the Tank Bowl that is going on between Pitter Patter at 0-8-0 going up against Moose Lake Jagger 0-7-1. Personally, I don't think Nick has a chance because he has 2 goaltenders that actually are breathing and will step on the ice and get him automatic goals. So Nick's behind the 8 ball there already. My money's on Pitter Patter in the Tank Bowl. What do you think? And they're off to a
Nick
start in the Tank Bowl, I might add.
Nick's gonna get the win
4
here.
points to 2. 4 points to 2 right now. The turtle rates are, oh, he's gonna win.
Well,
You're too good, Nick. Your 0-7-1 team is too strong.
he's fine where he's at. I don't think that. I think the bottom 2 are in there for sure. The other 2 are going to be whoever.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Right?
And
Like,
who knows if anybody's actually made that
nobody's
move
really-
that is going to
Right.
make that move. Somebody
Yeah.
might just go,
I mean,
screw this.
it-
Like no, you said Torrin won't go all in. He'll fight to
here
the
I
bitter
am
end.
this week.
All right.
I want to try to be in the bottom 4, but this week I'm going to actually try and upset. Yeah,
You are
no,
in the
I'm
bottom
saying
4.
me in this manner. I'm going to try and knock off the Brewers and the Lakers this week.
All right. I like it.
I want to disrupt the standings.
All right. All right. Keith's going for it.
So the benefit is out there for you other guys. And like I said, I will try and find a way. Yeah. Well, so there you go. You know, Nick and Pitter Patter, I don't think I can drop that low.
Yeah.
So I know that they're down there.
I don't think he can. All right.
Right? You know, so
Why not, man? Why
Um,
not? Anyway, I guess this is pretty much your
It,
last thoughts of the night. What do you what are your last thoughts on the first 1/5 of the season so far?
well, as I said earlier, the involvement of the managers. I think that's important. And we're all just doing this for fun and laughter and,
This
some
is
shit talking,
this is old
know.
West Dungeons and Dragons. This is our fantasy league. I am the commissioner.
Leisure Suit
Look at me,
Larry.
people boo me.
Yeah. I think that it just brings, it takes the everyday stress out of life. I mean, you can go and look at the hockey pool, but how long do you want to look at it for? The more you might look at it, the more
It's
information
more
you
like
might collect.
stress you out.
It
does me.
Well, no, actually, I just find that it's easier just to have a couple of hits of the Hooli here and simply read and understand. I think it just takes your mind off that any bullshit you might have.
Yeah.
Because when I'm focused on it, I'm going, okay, what am I trying to get out of this? I want to understand, the value of a player stuff. Like, is he a 4-category guy? Is he a 3-category guy? Is he like like Barzal? He's essentially an assist machine, and so he's assisting points, but he's not really a goal guy, right? So you can analyze that kind of stuff and go, how the fuck does Barzal have this many points, but he's got no fucking goals? Well, that's the kind of stuff that I actually find and I see and I'm going, fuck, wait a minute, but you can't knock the player, but he's only really like a 2-category guy. And I go, okay, what's his true value? He's better value on a team that is stacked like your team, because he's just tacking on the assists.
Yeah.
That's he's better than an elite defenseman essentially.
Hey, do you want a
He
piece
seems to be
of useless info?
What's that?
The Calgary Flames have twice this year given up the first goal of the game on the first shot, and both times the goal was scored by Sebastian Aho. Two guys who live in different countries. One from Sweden, one from Finland. But they both scored on first shot of the game against Calgary. That's hilarious. Anyway, buddy.
Markstrom struggling.
Anyway, buddy,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna wrap it up because this will be the true test to see if anybody actually goes right to the bitter end here, and I think RK does. So he'll be there to the bitter end. I mean, what else are you gonna do at nighttime in North Bay from midnight to 8? You're gonna watch podcasts, right? So he's gonna watch our podcasts like somewhere while he's tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Anyway, I think he may be our one only fan. I don't know. I think Al gets there eventually, probably fast forwards through. But if we go any longer, no one will watch the end. So I'm going to sign off right now. We can keep talking after this if you want, Keith, till it runs out. But for now, I want to thank Keith for being here tonight. And I want to let everybody know, like, if you want to be a guest host, just get a hold of me. Like, too easy. It's too easy to do. It's a lot of fun. I have fun doing it. You have fun doing it, Keith?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just people get your views.
Yeah. You just shoot the
your
shit.
things. I like last year where multiple people were doing it, and it was kind of nice to hear what their views were and how they saw things and stuff.
I'm going to try to do
things
that.
in common too.
Can try again to do that again this year. So anyway, but for right now, there you unfroze yourself. I was going to say you were frozen. Right now, I'm going to sign off. So for you people out there, you take her easy and peace out.